know if you're still watching Just a Thought, you say, is that guy ever going to leave? Nope, because every time I make one, I have another thought. So until the battery dies or I run out of memory on the card, I might just sit here and keep talking to myself by myself, which is not good. Let me tell you something I've learned about myself through the years the hard way. I don't know where it comes from. I have nobody to blame but myself. No one can fix this except for myself. And the irony is, I know this is quite a lead up, the irony is it drives me crazy when I see it in other people. It's not having social or self-awareness in conversation. Let me give you two examples of this. I think I'm acutely aware of my surroundings. I think I'm acutely aware of who and dynamics and personalities, who's in the circle, who's in the conversation. I think I'm very aware of that, like heightened sense all the time. What I am not aware of, and I have been learning it, and I'm trying to figure it out, so I'm confessing it to you, but I'm also telling you, do you see this in yourself? One is, I can get in a situation, and I don't know if I want to blame this on being introverted. I think that's such a lame excuse. I think it's a lack of self-awareness sometimes. And I'm not giving myself any credit here. I'm just being honest. It's talking over people. I have this thought. You're telling a story. I have this thought. And I don't know what it is, but I have locked and loaded the response that I'm fixing on giving you. It doesn't matter what your story is great. Your point is great. But I have it locked and loaded, and I can't wait to let you hear what I'm fixing on saying. I find myself doing this to this day, and I think to myself, should you not be beyond that? Like, it drives me crazy when I'm talking to someone, you can tell they're not really listening, and they already have the response. Like, they're already returning serve, and I'm not even done yet, and you're like, what's the point? I have honestly been in that situation where I just said, what's the point? Like, not out loud. Yeah, maybe out loud a couple times, depending on the context. But I find myself almost talking over people. And I see that when other people do it, it drives me bonkers. Or do you know people like that? They both want to talk and they're both talking and you're just watching to see who's going to finally yield to somebody else. I don't think it was until I got around some high character men who were more than willing all the time to yield their space to the other person. And it just stood out to me that there's something very mature and respectable in that approach. They'll be like, nope, you go ahead. Nope, sorry, you go ahead. I thought, why am I always going ahead? I need to stop going ahead. It's enough of me already. You ever get tired of hearing yourself? Here's the other thing, and I think this could be just a thought in and of itself, and it may be down the road, I don't know. But I find that this is something I'm trying to rid myself of. Maybe you can't relate to this at all. You have a story. You bought a dog, okay? I tell a follow-up story where I bought 2 dogs. We call those people toppers. No matter what the story is, they can top it. No matter where you've gone, they've already been there. No matter what you've ate, they've had it twice. No matter what experience you've had, they've had it too. And I find myself in that situation where I'm not necessarily telling a topping story because I don't think my life is that exciting. What I'm telling you though is a follow-up story that's very similar and in the same vein and under the same genre. And sometimes you just need to let someone tell a story and say, huh, that's pretty cool. I notice this more and more, and I don't know if this is a cultural thing. I don't know if it's an age thing in me. I don't know if it's some kind of quirky nuance in my brain somewhere. We don't know how to talk anymore. All we know how to do is tell stories. Everything is a story, and we are almost always the central character. I do believe there is an art in storytelling. That was one of the first blog posts I wrote early on with the Pursuit of Manliness. And I got that from Genesis and Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. God's building this story, and he's telling them, in Deuteronomy, you're going to tell the next generation, right? This whole thing has been being built, these first 5 books. But in there, God says, you're going to tell the next generation of what the Lord has done. You're going to bring them in on this. And I love it. I think there's something to that. I think there's something about hearing grandma tell you about times gone by. I think there's something about hearing people's experiences. One of my biggest regrets is we had a guy in our church who has passed away a number of years ago. Really good man, quiet man. He was a POW. And I can't remember what war it was. I'm going to say Vietnam. But probably World War II. He's okay. You get what I'm saying. I wish I would have spent more time with that guy to hear some of his stories. I bet they were incredible, powerful, great perspective. But I was busy. I was busy, church, new at the church, trying to get things done, going, talking to people, whatever, being that guy. I wish his stories could have topped any one of my stories. I think there's a place for stories. But men, I think we've lost the ability to just talk. Every time it's your turn, you don't need 3 to 5 minutes like you're on the judicial floor representing your case in front of the United States of America. Somebody just tell a story. I like hamburger too. You don't have to talk about the best cut of meat and where you bought it at and who the butcher was and how you prepared. Like, okay. When we just tell stories, we don't leave room for anybody else. I think that gets back to my first point. I think it's easy to talk over people when you know in that context you have this weird innate fear that they're going to talk for, well, like I've done here for 6.5 minutes, and you're going to have to just listen the whole time. I don't think I listen that well, and that's part of the talking over. I need to listen well, digest, process. And the other part is not everybody wants to hear your story. I know it's great, and I know it's funny, and I know it's ironic, and I know the timing is perfect, and I know it. Man, we want to tell a story. Let's tell the story of God. Let's tell the story of sharing the gospel with somebody, or being in a Sunday school class, or being in a worship service. Like, let's tell some of those stories. You tell stories of God, you'll have plenty of room for silence because people are going to process it and they're going to listen to it. You tell stories of you, you're probably going to end up talking over people, and you're probably going to tell, really long stories where you put people in an earlock and suddenly they are, a prisoner of your stories. Okay? I'll go back to where I started. Listen, man, I'm talking to you because I'm talking to myself here. These are a couple things, there's plenty, but these are a couple things I'm noticing about myself. One, I want to stop talking over people. It's almost like a Zoom call, right? Where everybody's trying to get, I want to stop doing that. I want to be better at listening. Second thing is, I don't want to be a topper. I don't want to top everybody's story. They don't need to hear my follow-up. They don't need to hear my experience. They just need to hear me affirm maybe what they've already shared. So, hey, just a thought.